Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutations, hopefully out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai. And what I want to get into real quick, and just how, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force is highly overrated. Highly overrated as far as their military personnel. Now once again, they have the most sophisticated, technological, military hardware. Some of the most sophisticated on the planet. But the personnel itself is trash. And ultimately, the Lord has just set Esau up for failure. All right, and these small has failure is going to draw, the rest of these nations, all right, these superpowers into the war, which is going to usher in the second coming of Yahushua. So this is everything we want. Everything that's happening is exactly what we want. This is going exactly according to plan. But just here's some insight. I thought this was interesting. Get some insight of the IDF personnel. These small hats. All right, these little dweebs. They play tough in the Middle East. Because they get to push buttons and then blow things up. But as far as their actual personnel is overrated, and they're trash. All right, their strategy trash. And he's gonna go into it. So let this play, and we'll comment and get scriptures as we go.
Events since then.
Well, I could definitely talk about the tactical situation going forward, and I think that's the best way to describe the insanity of this operation. So, actually, just before now, for my show on Mint Press News later tonight, I interviewed a former Marine Corps drill instructor who worked with the IDF, and we were just talking about their complete lack of discipline, lack of situational awareness, lack of competence. They basically only take pride in their ability to get F-35s, JDAMs, and press a button. And if you look at white papers from U.S. Army war colleges from 2006, they're doing exactly what they did in 2006 now that led to their defeat. An over-reliance on bombing campaigns, a lack of ground maneuverability, an unwillingness to get out of their vehicles and actually clear through terrain features. They just as we saw in Gaza, they like to stay buttoned up in their APCs and their tanks, not actually get out, which makes the tanks very vulnerable, but that's a different aspect. And then a massive information operations, or what we would in the civilian terms call a propaganda campaign, to portray a image of defeat for Hezbollah and an image of total victory for Israel. And so one of the main problems with their whole, the pager attack was this massive intelligence coup. It was more of like a James Bond villain operation that James Bond in the movie would be trying to stop, because if anybody but Israel did that, it would be considered a terrorist attack, especially if Hezbollah did the same thing, but with IDF soldiers. So that's one form of hypocrisy, but they said their entire command structure has been taken out.
So, have you heard it from him? Which is say one of his old colleagues was a Marine instructor, and he was training those small hat forces, and he said they're proud, they're not competent. Pretty much no accountability, no discipline, and they just wait on those F-35, F-22 fighter jets to come and they just bomb the hell out of people. Okay, but as far as actual being battle hardened, okay, they not built like that. You know, I said this is not. You know, I know you probably think, oh, he's just saying that because he's against small hats and he's, country nigga don't know what he's talking about. Okay, well, these are men that have trained. This is a source from someone who has trained those soldiers. Okay, the military personnel of IDF, man. Okay, and all they do is depend on pushing buttons. Okay, but as those things no longer have an effect on the battlefield outcomes, now they're bowled up and we're seeing them catching hell. Okay, they can't take any territory. Okay, they can't eradicate any of these militant groups that they're fighting. Okay, because they have no competence, man. You see, they overrated. And then he said they push propaganda as if they're just kicking ass, and who the people that they're fighting are just dwindling away, like they're just achieving nothing but major victories every day. Nah, man, it's propaganda. Okay, now it's another part he spoke on. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, first of all, Hezbollah was born out of a guerrilla insurgent force movement to occupation. They are designed to function in cells, in networks that are independent of an overarching command structure. So they have different SOPs, standard operating procedures for what happens in certain areas when an invasion starts. Now, the terrain in southern Lebanon is mountainous. It's full of cover and concealment through like rocks, trees, and Hezbollah, even though they're degraded to some extent, they're still effective. They're not the only guerrilla force, armed group in southern Lebanon. It's like when people use the blanket term of Hamas in Gaza. There's also PIJ, the PFLP. It's not just Hezbollah that's going to be fighting against this incursion. So basically what they have to do is they have to invade, conduct complex ground maneuvers that integrate combined arms. So tanks working with infantry, working with artillery, working with air assets. We've never seen them do this because they can't achieve it. So what on the first stage of the invasion, they set in commando teams or special operations teams to do reconnaissance raids against weapons caches, safe houses to collect intelligence. And then they sent in kind of like a spearhead of infantry and some armor. A couple of their incursions were pushed back. There's a lot of fog of war going on. But what you have to understand about the Hezbollah position, they've honeycombed their entire military infrastructure in tunnels throughout all of Lebanon. And so there's no breaking through the front lines of Hezbollah because they have defense in depth, which means like if they get pushed back from a position, they fall back to another position behind that. And there's like sniper's nest, there's HBIDs, which is house-borne IEDs. So that's basically a house that's booby-trapped to explode. So last night, an entire Israeli commando team went inside one of them and they lost the entire squad.
Entire commando team. Or the small hats went in there, none returned. And you're not gonna hear about them losses, man. But we gonna talk about it. All right, so I'm gonna fast forward towards the end, and he speaks on it again. I want to say it's about right here. We'll see.
Show your daughter how much you love her with this beautiful gift. It says, "To my daughter."
But when it comes to the Lebanon invasion, like, they're not professional soldiers. The bulk of the Israeli army are conscripts, and very undisciplined conscripts. They've only had like 2 years of military service, at which point in the U.S. Army, you're still pretty much a freaking dumbass private at that point. And their leaders are way too young. They have like 19-year-old sergeants. I didn't attain like a non-commissioned officer rank until I was 23, and that was considered fast-tracking it. They're like not emotionally or intellectually up or psychologically up to par, and most of them are reserves. They did their 2 years of service. They've been out for years potentially, and they thought they were going to spend the rest of their lives having a good life, working IT in Tel Aviv, and now they're like going into essentially the lion's den. And we saw videos of them praying before, and I've been into it. In Afghanistan, I can notice when people are scared, they're terrified. So there's a huge morale issue. There's a propaganda screen.
Now, he said he'd been in Afghanistan and he knows the look. Pretty much, he knows the look of terror on the man's face. And those small hats are terrified, man. They ain't built. Okay, they not built. Highly overrated. Okay, they're riding off propaganda. So let them play that again, man.
I work life working IT in Tel Aviv, and now they're like going into essentially the lion's den. And we saw videos of them praying before, and I've been into it. In Afghanistan, I can notice when people are scared, they're terrified. So
this nigga scared.
There's a huge morale issue. There's a propaganda screen. We're both on the far right platform that is X, formerly Twitter. So we see the narrative that's going around by paid propagandists, and it's not the reality on the ground. They're not prepared to fight a ground war, just like in 2006, because looking at what they're doing now in Gaza and in Lebanon and comparing it to how that operation in 2006 went down, they haven't updated anything. And I think it's going to go much the same way. The Israeli army is used to conducting short, 4 to 6 week violent wars where they saturation bomb everything. Now, they're fighting a war of attrition the first time, and they don't have the architecture or infrastructure to do so. So they're going to keep fighting in Lebanon as long as they can. I don't know how long it's going to be. They're going to declare victory without achieving any of their objectives. And it's convenient that they haven't really given any operational objectives for the ground invasion. So that's kind of like, is it really a military operation, or are they trying to just take more land? Either way, it's not strategically or tactically viable at all.
And what did he just say? That Israel are used to these short campaigns where they just bomb you to death for about a month and a half and it be over. They're not used to a war of attrition where they've been worn down. Okay? And this is what these nations are doing. Everybody say, well, why Iran ain't did nothing major? Why they won't just do this? Well, goddamn, why they won't go see Iran? Just to throw that argument out there. Why they won't go pull up on them? Okay? And the reason Iran is not in no rush, which it's a time and everything is happening perfectly and in timely fashion, according to Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. Okay? But in a war of attrition, you wear your enemy down. Okay? And what's happening, the morale of these soldiers, they're terrified. Okay? You have people by the droves permanently leaving Israel. Okay? You got settlements, age 414. They call Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. Because this is going to lead, to everything we want. The destruction of this whole beast system and the end of Esau supremacy in the earth and the beginning of Israelite supremacy under Yahweh Shah, under their new government. All right. So, yeah, man, these small hats are on use. Just like you watch MMA, and you got a guy that's a good striker, but he's fighting a guy that's good at wrestling. Okay, and the guy that's wrestling keep taking them down and making them wrestle. Okay, the guy that's a striker is gonna be frustrated. Okay, but why would I fight your fight? Okay, when I'm dominating you and what I'm good at. Okay, and this is what we see happening. So, let's get a few precepts. Proverbs 16 and 18, it said, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." Okay, and these devils have had pride, okay, in their ability to just overwhelm people with their technology. Okay, just airstrike them to death. And the lack of, from the other nation. But guess what? Russia is starting to equip Iran more and more, and Iran is starting to equip what you call the axis of resistance. Okay, which Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthi rebels, all those are a part of it. Okay, and they've learned how to fight these small hats because, like he said, when you get proud, you get complacent. Okay, and they haven't changed anything. They lost to Hezbollah in 2006. They lost. Okay, small hats lost to Hezbollah in 2006. Okay, so 18 years later, Hezbollah has been doing nothing but making adjustments. Okay, for the IDF has made no adjustments, man, and it's showing. Okay, and they looking terrible out there, man. You know, so that's the point. All right, we're finna see, a great fall. All right, pride has these devils, set in slippery places. All right, and we're just gonna watch the show, man. Okay, so Lord will you brothers and you sisters edify till next time I say shalom.